Good morning, Kellyanne.
Good morning.
What is your reaction to what happened yesterday?
I'd like to add my voice to the ongoing chorus of those thanking the Secret Service. They are incredible men and women, and they did their job here. You saw the president resumed his duties. That's very Donald Trump also. The show must go on. The briefing went on. And I will say, though, that the violence that's erupting all over the country in our great cities is really the bigger story here. Just look at Chicago, beautiful American city. You know, they've had 414 people murdered this year, over a roughly 50% increase over last year, 1,900 people shot, including these kids. Ladies and gentlemen, just stop and think about the 9 children who have been murdered in Chicago this year through gunshots. A little boy, 3 years old, in the back of his parents' car, just riding along, a 13-year-old in her house in front of her entire family. And then just overnight, you have allegedly the Seattle police chief, Carmen Best, who's been on your network many times, after serving 28 years and becoming the police chief there, African-American woman, is resigning because the council is making good on its promise to cut the budget there for law enforcement. Yeah. It would have reduced over 100 officers. You know, this is in the shadow of the Gallup poll last week that showed 86% of Americans want the same or more police presence in their communities. Right. And that includes 83% of Hispanic Americans and 81% of African Americans. And what's really regrettable is that I see these mayors in their press conferences and really shameless, but not blameless and not nameless. What is the most common word they say in their press conferences? Not police, not sympathy. Trump, 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 Trump. We will not have the president and the feds here. You know, everybody flexing their social media muscle. They're all so tough. And it means that people are shoveling hate at police officers, shoveling hate at people who work here. I think that people are also worried that Donald Trump's going to get 4 more years, and they're starting to lose it. And you see that here and elsewhere yesterday as well.
You do see a lot of Trump derangement syndrome, and we've been talking about that for a while, Kellyanne. Of course, that shooting occurred just as the president was starting his coronavirus briefing in the briefing room. Which is great because he updates us on what is happening in the United States. There's international news this morning, and that is Russia claims that they have now developed a COVID-19 vaccine, and they're going to start vaccinating millions of teachers and frontline healthcare workers this month. But, you know, behind that headline, I was reading that the testing has been really small, and some people are saying, and we don't know if this is safe. Apparently, they've given it to some of the scientists who worked on it and 50 military members and some volunteers, but that is not the large testing group that we are used to seeing.
That's right. That's why the U.S. standards are so much more stringent. We, of course, our FDA in our country sets the standards. And what I understand from the Russia announcement is this is nowhere near where we are, which is we have 6 different vaccine candidates into phase 3. And they don't seem to be there yet. And even Dr. Anthony Fauci earlier this month testified under oath in front of Congress and said he hopes that when China and Russia are releasing their vaccines more widespread, that they've gone through rigorous testing at the very least. He said it would be problematic if that were not true. The president is getting a vaccine update here at the White House today. I'm sure he will announce that in an open press event and also probably in his press briefing later on today. And what he will be talking about are these 6 candidates, including Operation Warp Speed, which has just been an incredible success to date. Even NIH director Dr. Collins said recently he's been there for decades and has never seen something come together so swiftly and so successfully. The result to Americans, what they need to know is that we are in the final phases with a couple of those 6 vaccine candidates, and we think we can have hundreds of millions of doses in the next few months alone.
And we can't wait for that update. So let's talk
about
it. Let's talk about the rescue.
Like Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Black. Yeah.
Right, Kellyanne, can we just talk real quick in the minute or so we have left? Is what's going on with their rescue package. The Washington Post reports today that White House officials, that might be you, believe that President Trump has gained leverage with his executive actions. Does that mean that Democrats have to reach out to the White House in order to resume talks, or might the White House and leadership reach out to Democrats?
it can go either way, but we've never stopped talking. The president said yesterday they have his phone number. They know where he lives and works. Also, we have our chief negotiators still very much in the game, involved in the game. And I think what the president did this weekend showed America two big things. Number one is, in the absence of congressional leadership and action, this president will always step into the breach. And number two, what the president did is he basically told America, when you look at your monthly bills, I'm trying to help you stay in your homes or your apartments through the non-eviction notices, the non-eviction relief. Also, get a couple extra, get some more money for the $400 plus on top of whatever you're already receiving, so it can help you with food or medicines or meet other household expenses. And also, the president gave relief for the rest of 2020, ladies and gentlemen, for student loan payments. That forbearance will help so many people who are staring at different bills every month and saying, I can't meet my basic expenses, I can't sleep at night. He's giving relief on his own. And you know what the Democrats did, and their friends in the media, yet I repeat myself, they attacked it. Oh, this can't be, and you didn't do. Well, Congress, step up, step in. I noticed a number of those leaders, quote unquote, very generous of me in Congress, are speaking at the Democratic convention. Maybe Chuck Schumer can use his convention speech next week to announce that he has a relief package with the Republicans and with the White House. That would be a much better use of his time than whatever invective they're going to hurl at the president. But let's get this done for the American people. The president is ready to sign it.
All right, Kellyanne, thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Kellyanne.